This is it. This is the entire Fan Clan Master set for Temporal Forces. It took us almost 2,000 booster packs to complete, but it is finally done, and now we get to give it away to one of you. One lucky subscriber is going to win this entire master set of Temporal Forces, and if you want to be that lucky subscriber, here's what you have to do. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, so scroll down, hit that subscribe button if you're not already, and then head over to this video right up here that I'm pointing at. Leave a like and a comment on this video, and then come back on Friday, April 5th. You should watch every video in between, but on Friday, April 5th, we will announce the winner at the beginning of the video who gets to take home this entire master set. Good luck. Happy Temporal Forces release day, Fan Clan. I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday. I hope your Temporal Forces pulls are going way better than mine, because my mind is completely boggled. We've been duped. I feel like we've been duped. Pull rates are nerfed. They are brutal. We've got 2,000 packs of data, almost 2,000 packs of data. I actually ended up opening a lot more than 2,000 packs, but I wanted to stay strictly to booster box data. So we've got just booster box data that we're going to go over, almost 2,000 packs. It'll give you a really good understanding and a good idea of what pull rates look like based off of rarity. You need like hundreds of thousands of booster packs in order to get a good idea of what each individual card looks like. I don't really believe in that with Pokemon. I believe in pull rates by rarity. I think that the amount of ultra rares that are printed are all the same. I don't think there's more Salvators than full art Torterras. I think it's the same amount printed on a sheet and then cut down. So I think pull rates based off of rarity is a really good way to go. So that way you can make the best decision when it comes to spending your collection dollars. Here's a little spoiler alert. I don't know if opening this, it's a lot of fun to open. I'm going to explain this. I don't know if opening a lot of this set is really in the best interest of anybody. I think buying singles, open some, have fun, like by all means, go nuts. But you may want to focus more on singles. This set is tough. It is very brutal. So to give you a good example, this is what it felt like. So this morning, which we're March 22nd, so this makes total sense that there was 5 inches of snow that fell this morning. So I went out and I started shoveling the sidewalk, shoveling the driveway, and for some reason, typical Fanny fashion, I decided to shovel my ankle. So I completely missed the snow, hit my ankle, and it was early, hit my ankle instead, had a really nice gash on my ankle, and I was like, oh boy. I gotta go clean this off. So I went inside, I started cleaning it off, and it just started stinging like crazy. And I knew it was gonna sting, I knew it was gonna hurt, but I had to do it. That's exactly what opening Temporal Forces is like. It's like there is so much great artwork, so you feel like you have to do it, but it's gonna hurt, it's gonna sting. That was probably a really bad analogy. I'm gonna flip you guys around so we can start going over pull rates, because this video started out probably a little bit weirder than what you expected. So here it is. We've got everything laid out. We're gonna go over all individual pulls real quickly, and then we're gonna break down the actual pull rate by rarity for Temporal Forces. Temporal Forces, it's a lot of fun to open. Let's talk about that. There are some amazing special illustration rares. They're absolutely gorgeous. I think this is my favorite illustration rare set ever. Like, Ghastly is gorgeous. Even that Arbok is gorgeous. The Cincino, the Deerling, the Sawsbuck, the Mincino, they are so wonderful. And the special illustration rares, those Paradox Pokemon, I absolutely love them. I love them. I think they're great. I think this is a great path, a great route that Pokemon is taking during the Scarlet and Violet era. However, I am used to seeing 2 special illustration rares, or a special illustration rare and a hyper rare, or at least one of them in a booster box. I am used to seeing that. Starting off with Scarlet and Violet base, for the most part, you were going to get 2 special illustration rares in a booster box. You might get 1 and a hyper rare, but those upper echelon of rarities, you were going to get 2 of. Same thing with Paldea Evolved. Then when we went into Obsidian Flames, started getting a little bit different. You only got 1. You either got a hyper rare or you got a special illustration rare, but it was like clockwork. It was consistent that you got at least 1. Same thing with Paradox Rift. The big thing about Obsidian Flames is that there was only 6 special illustration rares. There was not that many gold cards. So making sure that you get one of those higher rarities, those upper echelon of rarities, made it a lot easier to master the set when it came down to opening booster packs. Obviously, Paradox Rift was a lot more difficult because it was such a much bigger set, much more bloated. But now we have Temporal Forces, only 6 or only 10 special illustration rares, only 7 hyper rares. Like, if you're getting 1 per box, as long as your variance factor isn't terrible, like, it shouldn't take you a ton to open up the master set. However, that was not the case. That was not the case with Temporal Forces because pull rates have changed. Pull rates have been nerfed. I don't know if it was on purpose or what, but it took us over 1,850 packs in order to pull a master set. And it seemed like 40% of the boxes, based off of my calculations, 40% of the boxes that we opened up did not have a special illustration rare or a hyper rare in it. It's a lot more fun opening up a set when you know you're going to get at least one of those, but 40% of the time we got zero. We went 5 boxes in a row multiple times without getting anything. Pull rates have changed a lot, and we're going to start comparing these a little bit more to the Sword and Shield era to see kind of what's going on, and we'll do that in a later video. But let's go over Temporal Forces. Beautiful set. Regular arts are going to be very interesting, especially with the rotation happening right now. EUIC, the European International Championships, obviously is going to play a huge indicator on how some of these cards are going to perform. So we've got all of our data here. We've got the amount that we pulled of every single regular art. There's not really any anomalies that stand out here. We've talked about batching incidents in the past. I don't know if batching really played as big of a factor in pull rates on this one, because even if you look like, okay, Iron Boulder, for example, that was the one that we pulled the least of. We only pulled 15 Iron Boulder out of all over 50 booster boxes. However, we pulled 25 Raging Bolt. We pulled 25 Iron Leaves, and Iron Leaves definitely one that you want to pull. We pulled 27 Scizor. That's the one that we pulled the most of. And even like the most competitive card, maybe Iron Crown EX, we pulled 21 of those. So batching, there's not a huge amount of variance in any of these. It seems like every 89, 90 packs, somewhere around there, you're going to pull like a specific regular art. You should pull every one of them in like 100, 110 packs, somewhere around that area based off of pull rates that we've calculated, looking at over 1,800 packs, over 50 booster boxes. Not a whole lot that really stands out there, so that's nice. Same thing, A-Specs. A-Specs are a new entry into the Pokemon world. We haven't had A-Specs since the middle of the Black and White era. They made a huge indent, a huge impact on competitive play. You can only play one A-Spec in your deck, so it's not like a lot of players are going to be going out and buying a play set of these. They're not going to buy 4 like they would with Iron Crown. If Iron Hands does really well, Iron Hands from Paradox Rift has been really gaining a lot of steam. It's up to about $14 for just a regular art EX. If Iron Crown, which is going to be in that deck, if Iron Hands does really well, Iron Crown might go up a little bit more. You might see people buying play sets of Iron Crown, so that way they can combine that with Iron Hands. A-Specs not going to be the same way. So because of that, A-Specs having pull rates of basically 2 per booster box, 1 out of every 18 packs, those should stay fairly cheap, relatively inexpensive, because you do get pull rates on them are very strong, and competitive players can't really impact the market too much because they're only going to really carry 1, since you can only play one of each copy in your deck, 1 copy of each. So breaking this down, we've got 20 Awakening Drum. We only pulled 11 Hero's Cape. That's the one that we pulled the least of. Again, not too much of a variance. That one's a little bit weird because it's almost double. Awakening Drum is almost double the amount that we pulled of Hero's Cape, but everything else is kind of in the middle there. We've got Master Ball. Pulled 17 of those. That could be fairly good when it comes to competitive play. Maximum Belt, we pulled 14. Prime Catcher, probably the best, the most competitive out of all of them. We pulled 14 of those. Reboot Pod, we pulled 14, and Neo Upper Energy, we pulled 15. So for the most part, all of them right in the mid-teens. And then Awakening Drum, we pulled 20. Hero's Cape, we only pulled 11. That's a little weird. Illustration rares, very similar to what we've had in the past. Very close to 3 per booster box. You might get 2, but most of the time you're going to get 3 per booster box. And again, not a whole lot of variance on many of these, except for this one right here. For some reason, Relicanth, we only pulled 1 Relicanth. I don't know why we only pulled 1 Relicanth. It's not like it's got the best artwork out of all the illustration rares. If you're a giant Relicanth fan, I'm sorry. It's fine. I like it. Like, it's cool, but it's not my favorite out of all the artworks. We only pulled one of those for some reason. That's why batching is always a very, very confusing thing for me. I'm like, okay, well, is batching actually happening? Why do we pull one of these? Yet we pulled 12 Lickitungs. That seems a little weird. We pulled 11 Meltans. We pulled 8 Snoms. We pulled 7 Charger Bugs. We pulled 9 Bronzors. And I'm not going to go through all of these. You can kind of read them off by yourself, look through them by yourself. But basically, you open up maybe a case or 2. If you decide to go that route, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend, you're going to pull most of them. You're going to pull most of the time, you're going to pull 3 illustration rares. Sometimes you might pull 2, but I forget what the exact average is. We'll look at that in a second. It's like 2.8 or 2.7, something like that. If we go over to the ultra rares over here, again, not a whole lot that stands out out. Obviously, we pulled 10 Wug Trios and we pulled 10 Raging Bolt EXs. The Full Art Terra, the funny looking hat guys. We pulled 10 of those Wug Trios right there. And then we also pulled the Ferrograph as the other one. We only pulled 5 of the Ferrograph. Everything else, very close. The upper single digits, 7, 8, 9, some of them 6. If you look at the Full Art supporters, for some reason, we only pulled 2 Explorer's Guidance. That's really kind of the one that's an outlier there when it comes to the Pokemon. We only pulled 3 Walking Wake. Everything else, for the most part, somewhere between 5 and 10, with Raging Bolt and Iron Crown EX being the ones that we pulled the most of. We pulled 10 of each of those. I really do like the Future and Ancient idea. I like the backgrounds on those Full Art Pokemon cards. It's just a nice change of pace compared to what we've had in the past with the V cards, with the EX cards, with the Gold card, or with the GX cards. So it's a nice to see those differences a little bit. Special illustration rares. This is where things get weird. Special illustration rares, like we talked about before, you used to get 2 per booster box, or you would get at least 1 of those and then 1 hyper rare. And then with Obsidian Flames, Paradox Rift, you would get 1 per booster box. When you open up almost 1,900 packs, you expect to get more than the amount of special illustration rares that we have listed. So if you're opening up Temporal Forces and you do not get a special illustration rare or a hyper rare in your booster box, that's kind of normal. So don't freak out or anything like that, because that seems to be happening now. That seems to be a thing right now where there's no longer a guarantee. Pokemon never guaranteed it. They have made this very clear in the past, especially with a lot of boxes during the Sword and Shield era where people were opening up Evolving Cries and they were like, hey, I only got 4 or 5 hits in my booster box. I'm going to complain to Pokemon something happened with this. And Pokemon would just be like, no, there's no guarantee. Like, you want a guarantee? Buy Japanese cards, you get a guaranteed secret rare in a booster box. There is no guarantee for any pulls when it comes to English booster boxes. However, that hasn't always been the feel, right? Especially with Scarlet and Violet era, it has always felt, especially somebody who opens up a lot of boxes, always felt like you're going to get one of those special illustration rares or one of those hyper rares. But when it comes to these, it took us 1,851 packs before we finally pulled the Airy. The Airy special illustration rare was the last card that we needed in order to pull the Master Set. But even like Walking Wake and Gouging Fire, we only pulled 1 of each of those. So it's not like we pulled a ton. Like, our variance was not terrible. The one that we pulled the most of ended up being Iron Boulder. We pulled 5 of those. We also pulled 4 of the Morty's Conviction, which is actually my chase card. So I was happy that we pulled multiples of those. We pulled 4 of those, but it looks like you're going to open about 1,800 to 2,000 packs somewhere in that area. And I could have been unlucky. Like, that's definitely possible. I think it's going to take at least 1,500 packs with variance being factored in order to pull a Master Set. That's why it's very difficult right now, especially with a set like this, in order to open up, keep opening up, MSRP being higher. Like, don't overspend, because that makes it not as much fun. If we move down to hyper rares right here, worse than special illustration rares, right? It just went backwards. It continues to go backwards. There's only 7 in this set, so it's just Pokemon, or only 6 in this set. It's just Pokemon. There is no gold items in this set at all. Very similar backgrounds throughout, but it's all the Paradox Pokemon in the set. So you've got Iron Leaves, we pulled 3 of those. Gouging Fire, we pulled 4 of those. Iron Boulder, again, the one that we pulled the most of, so special illustration rare and hyper rare, we pulled the most Iron Boulders. We had 5 of those. Everything else, only 1. Raging Bolt, we only pulled 1. Iron Crown, we only pulled 1, and Walking Wake, we only pulled 1. Our variance was a little bit better on this one than the special illustration rares. We got a little bit more lucky, but you can see single digits, low single digits for basically everything. So we're going to look at the total boxes opened. You can see 52 total boxes, 1,872 packs. We opened up a lot more thinking like, okay, well, let's try ETBs, let's try 3-pack blisters, let's try sleeve boosters, let's try booster bundles to see if the hit rates got any better, and they just didn't. So we just took booster box data and compiled it all together. Your pull rates per booster box is fantastic. It's really good. Strongest we've had in the Scarlet and Violet era outside of Paldean Fates, where you counted those baby shinies, because ace specs play a huge factor. You're guaranteed to get 2 ace specs pretty much every time. There were a few boxes that we opened up that had 3. I think there was 3 boxes that we opened up that had 3 ace specs, and there was 1 box or 2 boxes that we opened up that only had 1. So for the most time, I'd say like 95% of the time, your booster box is going to have 2 ace specs in it. Overall, that's going to add to your hit rate, and that's why it's going to make it feel like these booster boxes are absolutely busted, because you're getting 13.85 hits per booster booster box. But if we break down the entire Temporal Forces booster box pull rates, and then we'll compare it to Paradox Rift data, very similar for the first 3 lower rarities, first 4 lower rarities, and then once we get to special illustration rares and hyper rares, it just gets a lot worse. So your average double rares per booster box is 6.08. This is the highest it's been in a very long time. You're usually going to get 6 regular REXs when you open up your Temporal Forces booster box. Every once in a while, you might get 7. Like there were many boxes that we opened up that had 7. There were many boxes that we opened up that had 5. But for the most part, you're going to get 6 on average. 1 out of every 6 booster packs is going to have one of those double rares in it. Your average A-specs, you can see just a hair above 2 per booster box. 1 out of every 18 packs. Like I said, I think there was 3 times where we opened up a booster box and it had 3 A-specs, and 2 times where we opened up a booster box and it had one A-spec. And I don't know if that's just they were put together wrong. Like, I know Pokemon doesn't seed, but how is it that every single booster box is going to have 2 A-specs if you don't seed booster boxes at all? Your average ultra rares, your full arts, 2.23. So this brings it down. This is a little bit lower than what we've had in the past, but there's less full arts in the set than what we're used to. Less full arts than what we saw in Paradox Rift by quite a bit. I think there's like 11 less full arts in this set than what we had in Paradox Rift, but still not bad. You're going to get 2.23 per booster box, so 1 out of every 16 packs. That's still way better than any of the sets prior to the trainer gallery being inserted into Pokemon cards. Average illustration rare, you can see very high, 2.77. Most of the time, you're going to open up a booster box and you're going to get 3 illustration rares. Now, you might get 2. It does happen every once in a while, but for the most part, I would say, again, 75, 85% of the time, you're going to open up a booster box and you're going to pull 3 illustration rares. That's 1 out of every 13 booster packs. Here's where things get bad. So your average special illustration rares per booster box has gone all the way down to 0.46. So less than, so more than 2 booster boxes worth of packs is what it's going to take in order to open up a special illustration rare. So in a case, a booster box case, which comes with 6 sealed booster boxes, usually you're going to get between 2 and 3 special illustration rares in that entire case. Sometimes it's only going to be 2, sometimes you might get 3, but 1 out of every 78 packs, and that's brutal compared to previous sets. Your average hyper rares also got worse. And again, this could be more of a variance factor than anything else, but your average hyper rares, 1 out of every 125 packs. So you might only get 1 hyper rare per case. Usually you should get 2, but it might only happen where you only get 1. 0.29 per booster box. 125 packs it takes to open up a hyper rare. If we compare this to Paradox Rift, which we have right over here, not anywhere close, except for on those first few rarity levels. You can see average double rares went quite a bit higher. So that's where the difference comes in. So they nerfed pull rates, or the pull rates look nerfed on special illustration rares and hyper rares, and all of that was given to the double rare slot. So double rares went from 5.41 per booster box all the way up to 6.08. So 1 less pack it takes to open up a double rare. Ultra rares stayed very close to the same, 2.38 as opposed to 2.23 that we had in Temporal Forces. Illustration rares pretty much the same spot on, 1 out of every 13 packs, 2.79 for Paradox Rift as opposed to 2.77 for Temporal Forces. And then your special illustration rares, this is where it gets really bad, 0.77. So most of the time you would get at least a special illustration rare. There would be times where you would get both a special illustration, like look at, you add these 2 numbers together, you're at 1.27. So most of the time you would get just one of these in your Paradox Rift booster box, but every once in a while you might get 2. 1.27 is the combination if you add those 2 together. So you would get a hyper rare or a special illustration rare in your booster box. You add these together and you're not guaranteed either of them, right? 0.46 and 0.29 does not add up to 1. It only adds up to like 0.75. So 3/4 of the time you're not going to get anything. It's just not anywhere near the same as what it was with Paradox Rift. And I don't know if this was just bad luck. Maybe it is a batching issue, and the distributor that I ordered booster boxes from just got a really bad lot, and you might have way better luck. But based off of over 50 booster boxes of data, it's nowhere near as good as the data that we were able to compile. And this has been something that has been talked about a lot on you watch openings, you watch people open up these booster boxes of Temporal Forces, and you might see they're not getting a hyper rare, they're not getting a special illustration rare, or maybe you talk to somebody at League and they're not getting one. It is not guaranteed, and we are definitely taking a step backwards, which made the set a little bit less fun opening. Like the Pokemon in the set are amazing, but when you're usually Pokemon sticks to pull rates for an entire generation. When you're taking steps backwards, and I don't know if this was, again, could have just been really bad luck, and if you get a huge sample size of, 100,000 packs and things are different like that, then okay, I just had really bad luck. But these numbers, based off of this sample size, seem pretty solid. 1 out of every 78 packs just to get a special illustration rare, compared to 1 out of every 47 packs, which is what we're used to with Paradox Rift. It's going to seem a lot different. You get a lot of hits, which is great because there's a lot of cool Pokemon in this set to collect. But those upper rarities, those higher echelon rarities, not anywhere as strong. So you can let me know what you think in the comments section down below, how your pulls have been. But I wanted to deliver this data so you can make the best decisions when it comes to spending your collection dollars. Obviously, some of these upper rarity cards a little bit more difficult to pull. I don't think that means that they're going to be a lot more expensive to buy, because there's still going to be a ton of people opening up Temporal Forces. So there's going to be a ton of supply out there for a lot of these singles. It just makes people more aware of where they should put their collection dollars. A lot of times it's fun to open up booster boxes, especially if you're master set chasers. Like, you still want to get the reverse hollows, you still want to get the commons and uncommons, but maybe you want to open up a little bit less of this set and save your money for Twilight Masquerade or something like that, because pull rates on this much worse for those higher rarity cards. Maybe focus on shoring up your master set with a little bit more singles. I know that sounds crazy because we sell booster boxes and we would want to push booster boxes, but I don't want you guys to waste your money or anything like that. So it's a really fun set to open, but keep that in mind as you continue to spend your money on Pokemon cards. You don't want to go broke chasing special illustration rares. Go broke chasing hyper rares, especially with this set, because they do not seem to come up as often as what we've had in the past. So I hope you enjoy the information. If you do, please hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment, share the video. It goes a really long way. Like, the more people that you can get to watch, obviously, the more eyes, the more subscribers you get, the more you can give away. Like, it's all very corny. I know. I'm just gonna stop talking about it. But thank you guys so much. I love you guys. We'll be back tomorrow with a short. Don't forget to go back, watch that other video, the master set video, so you can enter to win our Fan Clan master set. I'll talk to you again soon. Until next time, peace.